The one thing that is constant on any river is change. And that is certainly true of the River Avon. In years gone by, this river has faced industrial pressures, pollution, and exploitation which threaten to damage it beyond repair and devastate the wildlife. Now, thanks to intervention by conscientious individuals and communities, the river has hugely improved. These are some stories from the banks of the River Avon, as we follow it up to its source and uncover its beauty, the wildlife it sustains, and the sounds you can't escape. Sit back, relax, and see what it means to those that live along it.
So 30 years plus ago, I'm travelling up and down from west coast of Scotland to the east coast, seeing this river that ran purple, it would run green, it would run blue, sometimes a mustard yellow. What a filthy river it looked. Could never understand why people would want to live next to a river like this. Well, if it hadn't been for some of the work that Linlithgow Angling Club did on the river, you would have never fished this river. Because the big issue was the fact that the discharge from the Westfield paper mill was basically deoxygenating the whole river. So from the Logie water all the way down, there was no oxygen in this river, no fish life, no invertebrate life at all. So as an angling club we decided, right, we're going to take some action. So we've got blanket spray there. And we did interact with the paper mill, and they put in a new filtration plant. Shortly thereafter, the biggest impact was them closing down, and so those chemicals weren't getting pumped into the river. We introduced brown trout to the river to see if they would live in the first place, which they did, and so our work then progressed and developed from there. So that effectively changed the river from a dead river from the Logie water down into something that had potential. There was an opportunity for us to do something.
Well, when I came into the club in 1996, you could still smell the river as you're walking down towards it. And the fish, I took 1 or 2 fish home for my breakfast and they tasted of sewage. So at that time, the sewage works or were pumping stuff into the river which they shouldn't really have been doing. It wasn't as clean as they professed it was. The insects had turned into the likes of March Brown and Brook Duns. I've fished since I was 10 years old. I started off in the River Tees, and as I said, I started here in 1996. And it's a different river now than it was in 1996 because it's cleaner. One of the great things about the river is the wildlife. I've often fished into the dark, hoping against hope that I might catch a sea trout. But I often see otters. They swim by me when I'm in the river, up to here in the river, and an otter will swim by me.
There have been some great days out in the river. I've certainly had some great days. Catching the salmon was a #1 for me.
I haven't caught a salmon now for 3 years, but I have had salmon up to 12 pound on the river. Those were great days. I hope they will return if we can find the answer to what's affecting the river at the moment.
Yeah. As long as we return the river to those who follow us in a better state than we found it.
Absolutely.
Then it's better that way.
That's right.
Muir Avon is 170 acres of what was an old estate. It was owned by the Sterling family, but dates back to the mid-1700s. The river basically comes out of the bottom of the Avon Gorge and skirts round one edge of Muir Avon in kind of a nice kind of meandering arc, and then the last part of the river, just as it leaves the park, goes under the Avon Aqueduct, which is absolutely stunning. I don't think there's an average day in the park. I think it just depends on what needs done. I can be on the farm, I can be out in the park, I can be working with school groups, I could be doing volunteer sessions, or I could be completely on my own just working on a project. So it all depends on what needs done, and again it comes into seasonality. You know, spring, obviously everything's coming out of the ground, we get a huge amount of growth. A lot of the things we do around the park, so be it tree planting or willow coppicing, you know, you're looking for your fresh shoots coming through, and then all of a sudden you'll get that burst of green that comes through. Summertime, huge amount of people turn up in the summer to go to the farm, visit the park in general, and we get a lot of people that come specifically to interact with the river. So over the summer we had a lot of people just turn up, picnics, take it down to the river, and the kids would spend all day running in and out, or the dog would spend all day running in and out of the river, and just enjoying it for what it is. From my point of view, the more people that come and engage with the park, the more interesting it becomes, and the more of a vested interest people have in it, the more important it is for the local community. I think a lot of people, and probably myself included, who live in Scotland don't quite realise what everyone has on their own doorsteps to go and visit. Rivers in general are massively important to our modern day lives rather than just our historical ones. You know, the amount of good they do with regards to kind of flood management, moving water, all that kind of stuff is massively important, but I think people are probably quite guilty of taking them for granted.
The river will be there when we're not here, that's a certainty, so all we can do is pass it on in hopefully a better condition than we got. And hopefully, oh, there are fish. I love outside, I love all this, and up here every day is a school day. You're always learning something. And I'm coming on 74 and I'm still learning. You'll never know it all. The group that run the angling club in their days were old miners and what have you, and they were the salt of the earth, I can tell you that now. You wouldn't meet nicer people. And if they could learn you anything, they would learn you. But it was all simple folk and simple ideas, like. And they looked after the river and stocked the river for many years. When they dug it out in 1974, they just totally destroyed the habitat completely. And in those days, we used to have plenty of water voles, believe it or not. Now they're becoming almost extinct. We see hundreds of them up here. In recent years, obviously, we've been putting a wee bit more effort into it. For about 2005, we got fed up looking at the river the way it was. It didn't seem to be recovering fast enough. Well, that was 30 years it had been dug out, like. So then I started to make inquiries on how I could go about getting funding to do different things. And that was our first grant was to do phase 1. But we learned a lot for doing that phase to doing the other 3 phases that we done after that. And hopefully we learned as we were moving up the river, and we changed our methods and what we were doing. Through trout in the classroom that we're involved in as well, we're hoping to educate the kids, and hopefully the kids will educate their mother and father. Hopefully they'll gain an interest in what's happening in the river, and some of them will go on to be biologists or what have you, and hopefully take over looking after the river in the future. It's not an easy river to fish, it's quite hard. The Avon trout are up and away before you can blink usually, so you've got to be good to catch someone here. Just see sitting at the side of the river, you just stop for a cup of tea and that. You see the trout rising, skylarks above you, whistling away like billy-o. And this is the only place I've ever found a skylark's nest, and I've only ever found one in my lifetime. And I couldn't believe it. I was overjoyed with that, like with eggs and what have you. And you see the deer wandering about. You've now got deer here. You've got your hares. You've got dippers. You've got kingfishers on here now as well, Ken. So it's just on a nice day, you can't beat it.
So the River Avon is a fantastic little river hidden away in West Lothian. It's a very rural river and has a fantastic footpath which runs through quite a lot of it. So because it's a rural river, the River Avon runs through a lot of farmland, and some of that can have an impact on the water quality of the river. Throughout the river there has been man-made obstacles and weirs inserted in the past. One of these at Westfield is still in place, and that does stop migratory fish such as lamprey eels and salmon and sea trout from getting into the upper areas of the tributaries, particularly around the Bathgate. We work a lot with the smaller communities in the upper areas of the River Avon, and some fantastic community groups who work with us together with schools to deliver the Fish in the Class project. In this project we provide the schools, primary schools, with brown trout eggs. The class looks after the eggs until they have grown into small fry, and these are then taken down to the river and put into the river to continue their life stages. We're really lucky on the River Avon that we have some fantastic community groups that work with the schools. These community groups go down with us to the rivers, and they talk to the children about how important the river is to them when the fish are released into the river at the end of the project. So one of the best things about my job as a director of the Forth Rivers Trust is I get to work with the communities who live along the Avon. Part of the work that we do with these community groups is to ensure that we support them so that they can act as stewards on the river with the communities around, looking after the river and ensure that it has a fantastic future for the wildlife, for the community and for businesses within the catchment.
In recent times, there has been so much positive change on this river, and that is something to be thankful for. But there is also still much to do. We all have a responsibility to ensure that future generations will be able to enjoy and benefit from the life and beauty of the River Avon.